Well, Dr. Doom, Dr. Redletter will join us tomorrow, Karl, this week, but he said the same thing on Twitter. He said, with the reckless relaxing of public health guidelines, we are about to see a monster of a surge, not even counting what we might see from the COVID variants of the virus, which will be a terrible challenge to the vaccines. It's
a race.
Yes.
Dr. Fauci said it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we're up to 5 million people a day being vaccinated.
Yeah. Are we really? Wow.
Yeah. And, you know, reaching the goals that the Biden administration put out well in advance. So it's a race to get people vaccinated because people are not behaving the way that they should be. You know, not all people, but enough people to cause problems.
Right. Here was a good idea. Barbara is a liberal helper on Twitter. She said, when it becomes obvious that Republican men refuse to get vaccines, will Republican women stop sleeping with them? Yes. Liz Estrada, let's go with public shaming needs to be brought back. We absolutely need vaccine passports. They need to be shamed out of our lives and our beds. Absolutely.
If the fact that Republican women were willing to sleep with Republican men
in the first place, place
doesn't keep them from doing it, I don't know that a vaccine is going to get in the way.
Oh my God. Karl, what do we do about a problem like Joe Manchin? We
elect more Democrats.
Thank you. You got to make him and Sinema irrelevant. We have to have more Democrat. You know, we
still need their votes on a lot of things, but I'll tell you what,
it
would make it a lot easier to get things done if we picked up a Senate seat in Ohio, if we picked up a Senate seat elsewhere, which we have a chance to do in the next election.
Yeah. I mean, it's distressing.
Pennsylvania.
How all out balls to the wall we went in this last election to get the House, the Senate, and the White House, that we still can't. I mean, Joe Manchin just came out again. First of all, he's really like so too big for his britches, right? I mean, you can tell he's so enjoying this whole veto power over everything, right? He's just like, oh, well, I'm not going to vote for that. And then it goes nowhere if I don't. I mean, whatever latest bill it was, I was like, anyway,
he's posturing for his home state audience to make them know that he's not like, quote unquote, those liberals in Washington.
But he said there is no circumstance in which I will vote to eliminate or weaken the filibuster. Didn't he just say a few weeks ago he was open to reforming the filibuster, like a talking filibuster? So then he said taking bipartisan action on voting reform would go a long way in restoring the American people's faith in Congress and the ability to deliver results. Well, they're not one Republican's going to vote for it, Joe. So that's the whole point. It's like
if they vote for it, they're going to be in there to, they're going to break the delusion bubble that they've got their base in.
Right.
And they can't do that because then it means that when they lose elections, they just lose elections because fewer people voted for them.
Yeah, I really don't get it. So Biden is set to announce executive actions on guns. This is another thing, Karl, that always has been a top priority, at least for me. And I know a lot of people, it seems like so, critical and hugely overdue, and yet you go, we're not going to get one Republican vote on that. So
no, you and I marched together.
Yeah, we did
after the Parkland shooting, and
with the Parkland kids, with the actual Parkland kids. Yeah,
this was 5 years ago at this point. 4 years ago at this point. And nothing's happened. And so to see Biden taking some steps, I think that's perfectly fine to argue that he should go further. But we also need to give him a Congress that will let him go further. So, I hate to, I said when we were leading into the election with Trump versus Biden that 2020 wasn't going to do it. It's going to be 22, it's going to be 24, it's going to be 26. You can never let up because they will always take more ground back.
We did that to Obama, as you recall. We didn't have his back. We didn't get him a Congress, and then everybody's screaming. We didn't get him a Congress. We said, oh, it's done. We got him elected, and we sat out the midterms. So one of them is owners of weapons that are manufactured at home or lack serial numbers, the ghost guns, which I thought was what they used in Ghostbusters. But it's not. It's okay.
No,
Ghostbusters.
They're printed at home on interesting machines.
Yeah, you still should not cross the streams.
With no serial numbers.
Don't cross the streams. Yeah. Okay. She will be required to undergo background checks. Additionally, the DOJ will provide states with red flag laws that allow courts to temporarily seize firearms that belong to people deemed a danger to themselves or others. He's also expected to announce a former ATF agent as head of the ATF, which he's a gun safety advocate. So, but you're right, Carl. There's only, as he's always said, so many steps he can take. I mean, we need real legislation. And speaking of bipartisan, what you are a campaign strategist. What do 90-something% of Americans agree on anything? Well, on gun safety,
just
they
about
do
nothing. But you know what?
Right.
And some dynamics in this argument have changed. Look, the NRA, their building is physically located in my district, and I heard heads exploding yesterday from just a mile away.
Right.
What needs to happen is what happened in 17, what happened in 18 and 19 and 20 was people voting based on this issue. It never used to happen like that. And that's why you had so many weak-willed Democrats who were not willing to stand up for simple gun safety laws. But now a lot of people in the suburbs have started voting based on that issue.
Yeah.
And it needs to continue.
Yeah. And you know what happened last time we had an assault weapons ban? The numbers of, went way down in terms of gun deaths and whatever. I mean, I think that's the one thing we all agree on is that civilians should not have weapons of war. That's why there's no, survivors in Colorado. There's no injuries. These guns aren't meant to injure. They're meant to kill as many people as possible on a field of war, and it's, okay.
Look, nobody should have an AR-15, period, end of story. Lindsey Graham certainly shouldn't. I think the video proves that.
Oh, good God.
But you're right. Weapons of war don't belong in civilians' hands. And the sooner we get back to that as a matter of policy, the better off we all will be. We're going to see these school shootings starting again now that COVID restrictions are being loosened. It's the only thing that brought them down was people being,
there was
quarantined.
There was a tweet, Carl. It's just, this is the only kind of humor we have now is dark, but it said, 2020, I hope I don't get COVID in the supermarket. 2021, I hope I don't get shot in the supermarket. I mean, it's, it's like, this is back to normal. And by the way, you're right. First of all, this is the time the NRA is in bankruptcy, right? The bankruptcy trial. I love this.
With the Russians.
Looking at an expenditure from the NRA, the law firm sent the NRA an invoice to the general counsel for almost $60,000, just marked Russia. They were questioned about it on the stand, and they cited, confidentiality. Oh, I see. Okay, it's confidential. Actually, it's not confidential.
I believe they said confidentiality ski is what they said.
Right.
Yeah. Confidentiality ski. Yes.
This is right. Russia used them as money laundering tool for. I can't. Okay. And by the way, Wayne LaPierre, we found had a 108-foot luxury massive yacht after the mass shooting in Parkland because he said it was for his protection. I just let that sink in.
If you have to be at sea for your own protection, you're doing life wrong.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
He demanded the NRA purchase him a $6.5 million mansion, also for his own security. Okay. I mean, they're all just unbelievably, they're all crooks. I mean, I'm just like, whether any of you.
It's the grift that keeps on grifting.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what they're going to do with their headquarters here in my district, but I hope they take it with them to Texas.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so infrastructure, I mean, wow. Speaking of polling, it's not even just the whole bill, Carl. Every single element of it is wildly popular, right? I mean, are Republicans really going to run against helping elders, against elder care?
No, they're going to continue to talk. Here's the thing. At a certain point, the American people are just going to be immune to the argument of tax and spend, because it's what Republicans always say. And then they go quiet when they take over. They go quiet, they cut taxes, and they never do anything about spending. And so voters are getting a clue that it doesn't really matter. And so wouldn't you rather have our tax dollars invested in our people? And I think the polling certainly indicates that. Yeah. This will be wildly popular, and it hasn't even been, passed yet. Imagine what it's going to be like when people start seeing the signs popping up in their neighborhoods saying this project brought to you by, the infrastructure plan.
Right.
This is going to have a huge impact in states all over the country.
Yeah. And I love that, Democrats are getting smart about taking a victory lap on COVID relief and saying thank you, President Biden, and whoever the local Democrats are, and no thank you to whoever the Republican is, because not one of them voted for it. Not one Republican had anything to do with you getting a shot or getting a check in your bank account, right?
And every time one of the Republicans takes credit for it, I'm glad we have people pointing out that they had nothing to do with it.
Right.
And we should be taking these victory laps. Democrats too often, because we care about legislating, move right on to the next thing to tackle. We should be focused on the next thing we need to accomplish, but we should also focus on getting the message out that we got something done.
Yeah. And Chuck Schumer has at least borrowed Nancy Pelosi's balls. I don't know what is going on with reconciliation, but good for him. It's, and if Manchin and Sinema stay as intransigent as they are, they better use reconciliation for whatever they can, right?
Yes,
is that?
They should use the rules to their fullest extent, just like Republicans would.
Did you take from what Manchin just said in this op-ed that he has now gone back on his openness to at least making it a talking?
Certainly sounds like it closed the door entirely. I'd love to know what conversations have been had between those comments. Not with him and Schumer. I'd love to know what his conversations were with Mitch McConnell.
Didn't Sinema say something like, my mind is not open on that? It's like, well, if your mind's not open, why are you a senator? Like, it mystifies me that we're on
Yeah. And Kirsten Sinema at one time was a self-described, Nader-loving socialist. So
I was just going to say, Carl, Chris knows this. She ran originally. She was an anti-Iraq war, Green Party, liberal activist.
I lived in her state legislative district in Tempe, Arizona. When I lived there, she was hardcore left.
Yes,
probably the only district that someone like that could have been elected from in the state of Arizona, because it's a college town.
Yeah.
She's changed from when she was my state representative.
She has indeed.
Well,
you have to look really hard to find Democrats who are willing to stand up for payday lenders and other financial predators, but you don't have to look that far when you're in Arizona.
If I noticed,
right.
The first thing I didn't notice, she's a hot bisexual woman, that I noticed she was a big anti-Iraq war lefty. I mean, that was the first thing that caught my attention.
Yeah.
I still think she's in there. Someone could bring her to the light.
She's
could.
If she's willing to switch, maybe she'll switch back.
That's right.
She's very funny.
Bisexual, already fluid. I'm just saying.
If you're in Arizona, make sure your voice is heard and that she knows there's plenty of room for her to change her mind.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and again, there are steps, Carl, like reforming and the talking filibuster. I mean, I just think you've got to have an open mind if you're a senator.
Right. And, most people think filibuster is about talking. Yeah. They don't understand cloture. They think a filibuster is like what they saw on TV with Jimmy Stewart.
Right.
Because everybody's watching movies from the 20s.
Right. All right, Carl, you have always been and remain a delight, and I'm enjoying all the pictures of you from
Congratulations on 10 years of Sexy Liberal.
Thank you, honey.
I can't wait to do it in person again soon.
I know. I love that picture on stage. Oh, my God. What was all of us, right?
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah. You and Malcolm Nance and Charlie
Pierce. That was in 1954.
Bob Seska. Bob Seska was in that photo. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right. It was a fun night. I was dressed as Trump in a orange jumpsuit, I think.
Yes. You did costume for me. All right. Love you, Carl. Yeah. See you next week.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Carl. Bye-bye.
Yeah. 50 minutes after.
Sexy liberals, assemble!
Lot to celebrate.
The right to remain tripping your balls off.
It's like Illuminati, but with leather.
First day at Fight Club, you must fight!
2020 refuses to concede.
I was going to have to return 2021 because I didn't like the 7-day trial, but I'm in now.